The Marinade.
There's no O in Marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade.
That's
The Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle. Welcome to The Marinade with Jason Earle, episode 19, and Micah Schnabel returns, y'all. It was such an honor to get to talk to Micah the first time. It was just kind of a dream come true when he actually said yes the first time, back when it was just episode 3, and now over a year later, we get a chance to sit down with Micah again. He is just a dear, sweet soul. He's a songwriter with very few peers, a gentleman in every respect, an intellectual, and now a friend. He was one of the first people to say yes to the Marinade, and episode 3 was amazing. It was an incredible honor to get to talk to Micah, and during that talk, we talked about his then forthcoming novel, Hello, My Name is Henry. And that book, if you listen to this show, you know that I absolutely love it. I got a chance to read it a while back and totally fell in love with the characters, which is just exactly what you get from Micah. You know, the book is about life in Middle America, specifically Ohio, and in true Micah Schnabel fashion, his book, just like his songs, is full of gorgeous language and painful, complex characters. And so this conversation focused on his creative process for the novel. But of course, also music and life and mental health would naturally make their way into the conversation, this being the Marinade and all. Mike and I recorded outside of Little Indies in Orlando just after we recorded episode 17 with Vanessa Jean Speckman. If you haven't listened to that episode, I highly recommend that as soon as you finish this one, you go back and listen to that one. Micah went on to play the best set that I've ever seen from him, in front of a really fervent weeknight crowd at Will's Pub in Orlando. Seeing him play is always a pleasure, and speaking with him is always insightful. I always learn quite a bit about myself and about the world when I have the honor of getting to talk with Micah and seeing him share his art. Knowing him is an ongoing feeling of enlightenment. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, Micah Schnabel.
Well, I've been using isolation as a form of medication. I'm starting to worry about the psychological effects. Every morning a new tragedy will on the screen in front of me. I'm growing more and more afraid of what comes next. Rape culture and violence, dead kids and guilty silence. A Russian elected president, this is an act of non-compliance. I'm looking for guidance everywhere. Let's bow our heads and say a prayer to the Palm and Tarot Card Readers International Alliance. More information in my pocket than any humans in history. I haven't done a great job handling the responsibility. I'm just trying to describe what it's like to be alive during the teenage years of the 21st century. Yeah, I'm just trying to describe what it's like to be alive during the teenage years of the 21st century. Trying to not let the information age get the best of me.
Ready? Cool.
Peyton, she was 17. She was just a little kid. She shaved off all
Check
her
1,
hair.
2. Hello, hello. That volume right there is just right. Cool. Hey, man.
Hey, what's up, man?
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So much has happened since last time you were on the show.
Yeah.
So exciting. I have my copy of Hello, My Name is Henry. I want
you.
to tell you a couple quick stories. So people love you. This keeps coming up where I'm talking to a songwriter or a fan of the show in general, and a lot of them have ended up being songwriters that I love, which has been like the coolest
Very cool.
development. But a lot of people say either the BJ Barham episode, which was episode 1, or your episode is what got them into the Marinade. So
Cool.
thank you.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation last time.
It was great. And, it's I get more feedback, I feel like, on that one than any other one. Like, you just opened up in such a way, and there was so much insight. People take a lot away from that conversation.
Oh, that makes me really happy. Yeah, as you can tell from my songs, my writing, I try to not hide behind any false idea wall.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that comes through, for you, and clearly, like the impact that you have on people is really cool to see. Like Matt Burke was episode 14 from Have Gun Will Travel. He's so great.
Yeah, he's incredible.
And he writes great songs, and he was so open about his process. But he was just gushing about you and how much he loves you. And he's reading "Hello, my name is Henry." And
I was
then
messaging on it with him last night.
Oh, that's
actually.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then BJ Barham, who I just recorded with, and we haven't released that episode yet, but we recorded on Monday. And I'm sitting down with BJ, and we were in his tour van, or his tour bus now. He's got a bus now. And we're in the back, like in his little bedroom area. And I look over, and I'm like, that looks familiar. And he's got his copy of Hello, My Name is Henry.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful, man. I love the book. I really want to talk about the book, if that's cool. 116 pages in, so I just got past The Accident.
Oh, okay.
And I was talking to Vanessa earlier about how I love how the artwork on the cover kind of gives away just enough to get you going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not so much as to spoil
something's
things.
gonna happen.
Yeah, I
Going
kept
in.
waiting, like, when is the accident? When is the day of accident going to happen? Oh, shit, that just happened.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a great book. I love
you.
it. Let's kind of get into that process, if you will, because that seems like it would be a lot different discipline from songwriting.
It is, and it has definitely made me more disciplined as a songwriter, because I was just so excited about it that I had the opportunity, and I worked with some short stories with the publisher for a year or so, and then when this idea hit, it was like, okay, that has the legs to grow into something bigger, and so January of 2016, he sent me some money, and I've never had much money, so when somebody pays me to do something, that just flips my mindset. So I was like, I'm writing a book now, and so from January to May, I sat down, I woke up, had my coffee, and went to work. And from about noon to 11, 12 at night, like, I just sit down and I work, and pace the kitchen with my guitar a little bit. But I just worked. May 2016, I sent off the original manuscript, which was around 80,000 words. I wrote on a typewriter, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody.
Oh, really? You wouldn't do it that way next time?
No, but I couldn't afford a computer at the time, so there wasn't really an option. So, but I started on just an old typewriter, and then about 3/4 of the way through, I switched over to an electric, which just that little bit helped out a whole lot.
Yeah.
But so I mailed off this manuscript that was just a mess of typewriter stuff, and thankfully Mike over at White Gorilla sat down and typed it all up and got it into the computer and the program for me, and that took a while, and because that's a terrible thing to have to do. But he did it, and so that was about 8 months or so, and then I sat back down with it and I chopped it down to about 30,000 words, and it went from 80,000, which I felt great about, but then we chopped it down to about 25 and realized what garbage it was, and then just started. That changed the mindset, and then I had that focus of I could kind of see the story coming together and everything, and really start hitting plot points and developing the characters and everything, and that just really made that exercise, that daily exercise of sitting down and working. It's changed my songwriting process. It's it changed me, how I view writing, and it's been really exciting to go through.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
What? So much I want to ask you, especially as someone who wants to write a book. Like I have ideas. None of them are far enough along that I need to like really take that next step. But
Right.
But how did, like, you mentioned Mike at White Gorilla, like, did you have a relationship before, or did you reach out? What did that look like?
He had been a fan of the band for a long time, since almost the beginning, and he had started his White Gorilla and had put out some books, and he actually approached me down here in Florida about 5 years ago now, and asked me if I'd ever thought of writing a book, and I was like, that's something I could dream of, but not something that ever felt like it could be a reality. But we kept talking, and I started writing some short stories and stuff and sending them to him, and he just kept encouraging me, and that was probably 2 years until I hit upon the idea of Henry, and we were both like, this can be something, at least. Yeah.
And Henry, can you talk about Henry a little bit? He's such an interesting character. So much there. Because like,
Thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
it's really, I love him. And so like, you know, folks who haven't read the book, first of all, read the book. But he's this complex character because he's like, you know, he's not particularly educated in the traditional sense, but he reads a little bit here and there, and he finds solace in books. And he's really sharp. You know, he's a really sharp dude, but his circumstances fucking suck.
Yeah, and that's me, like, obviously, I don't know what else a writer does it, but just projecting into it, you know, the character. But I guess how I kind of saw myself as I grew up feeling dumb, and always one of my biggest fears to this day is sounding dumb, you know. But I was terrible at school, you know.
Yeah.
And so I guess that, I projected that all upon him, and I feel like everybody kind of feels, I know a lot of people that feel that way, you know, and I grew up with a lot of people that just had these circumstances and that they never really had a chance. You know, when you play those stories out over 20 years, 30 years, you know how those happen. And when you grow up in an education system that has zero money and you're not getting the best teachers, and if you aren't a great student, you're immediately left behind. From the time you're in kindergarten, you're put into reading groups, and you're pretty much given up on, you know, because of your last name or because you aren't reading well when you're, you know, in first grade or something, and you just get left behind in these schools, you know. And I was trying to shine a light on that, especially in these times that we're living in right now. People don't really understand poverty, you know, and the big problem with Americans in general is we look at poor people and we think, well, they're lazy, or they're not working hard enough. When the truth is, like, when you come up in these circumstances, it's nearly impossible to get out. And when you hear the one story of, well, they worked their way up, you know, and earned money, you know, finally ended up making a bunch of money and whatever, it's like, that is one person who probably was fortunate enough to find somebody that believed in them, you know. And most people don't get that. Most people just get left behind, you know. And Henry can see that he's getting left behind, but he doesn't have the tools, you know, to figure out how to get out, to get beyond his circumstance, you know. And that's a reality that I think most people exist within, you know. The glory story doesn't happen very often. That's why it's, you know, the big story.
What's interesting also about Henry is that people really like him, you know, like there's it's really interesting. Like he has a magnetism to him. Yeah. And I guess that's something you were aware of as you were writing it. Is that something you set out to?
I definitely wanted him to be likable, you know. One of the biggest writing influence on me is Wily Vlautin. And that's what always made him so readable to me, is you care about this character, and you can watch them make mistakes, and they can do terrible things even, and you still cheer for them and care for them because you are living on the inside, you know, and not judging them from an outside perspective. And I wanted him to be lovable, and or at least you could, maybe not lovable, but you care about him, and you wanted people to be cheering for him, because like I had never written a book before, but I could tell when I was writing well was when I wasn't thinking about anything. The conversation was happening in my head, and it was coming out of my fingertips. And that's when I felt like that's the stuff that was coming out when I felt like I was really writing well, was not being judgmental of people, not being judgmental of Henry. Like, anything can happen as long as it's done in genuine, honest way. That feels natural and right to me in my voice, you know? My big thing when I was younger is I was always get angry and write out of this angry against somebody. And you can write angrily, but it always felt very unnatural and forced to me. And I did it anyway, and it was not great. And this really helped me find that voice and find where I'm comfortable. And where I'm most comfortable is cheering for people, I think, more. You know,
Henry has this anger too that like from he mentions his grandfather. He talks about the fact that he says, forget exactly how you said it, but there's a part in the book where Grandpa, I don't want to give anything away, but so Grandpa comes to a very pivotal decision in his life, right?
right.
So and then Henry is kind of really processing what has happened in his relationship with his grandfather, and he basically says, like, I've got this anger that I know is coming from you,
right?
You know, but he doesn't want to let it come out and be a part of him, you know.
I mean, I guess, and again, just writing is just projection as far as I know, but that's again one of my biggest fears. I come, you know, fortunately not my parents, but pretty much all through my bloodline is a lot of bad stuff that is in the book and in my songs. And that's one of my biggest fears, is becoming that, you know, becoming that angry at the world. You know, it's happening here in America right now.
It's interesting.
You don't get an opportunity or something and you get angry at the world, and if you don't express that in some positive way, it can turn inside you, you know. And the mental illness that runs, you know, rampant in my family has always been a thing of, well, what if one day that shows up at my door, you know, and I have to stare that in the face. And I, you know, to a certain point I have, like, I spent, you know, months in a psychiatric ward when I was growing up, you know, throughout my teenage years. So that's always been a really big fear of mine, you know, and I projected it on a poor little
and
Henry.
you told me last time, I forget exactly how you ordered it, so you know, correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but you said basically you went through a period of your life where you essentially tried to drink yourself to death. You know, so you've been through it. What kind of work do you do on yourself making sure that doesn't come up?
It's a constant work every single day. Like, I quit. I don't drink at shows. You know, I don't drink a whole bunch anymore. I feel I'm fortunate that I can just have, you know, a few beers once I deliver everybody back safe to where we're staying, and, you know, and
oh, interesting.
But yeah, I kind of cut that out of. I separated that kind of activity from my work. And I think a part of getting older is learning that this is my career, and and taking care of it, and you know, just really looking after that and caring so much about it. I was having a conversation a couple of days ago with somebody about it, and I care so much about playing songs and the work that I do. And that's not to say it's any good or anything, but I care so much. Like, I'm nervous now for the show tonight, and I've probably played 3,000 shows at this point, you know. But I've just realized, like, part of the reason I can't drink, because I drink out of anxiousness and nervousness, you know, and then I'm bad, and then you fall into that shame cycle. And you're like,
we talked about that last time.
Yeah,
the guilties.
Exactly. So, just really paying attention to that, and recognizing how important this is to me, and that's why I get nervous every single night, because it doesn't matter if there's one person there or 1,000 people there. I care so much about this, and all I can do is go and try to be my best. So that's my focus now. That's what I care about.
And you're probably not doing your best work if you're not a little bit anxious about it, you know, unless you're some kind of monk or something, you know, unless you're real zen as fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
I've had, like, maybe a handful of shows where I've not been nervous. And some of them have gone really well, and others not so well. But it scares me. If I'm not nervous. I wonder why, you know. And,
I always, before these, I always get a little bit nervous. My big nerve is the recording.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I even have anxiety right now about, I'm not recording over Vanessa's episode, am I?
And this is what we do. And this is how we create. It's all part of the process.
Someone would be really fucking pissed at myself if I did that. But it's interesting, you know, and this is probably the least. I always get a little bit. I'm never, like, nervous before I head into it, because I've done it a lot. Not 3,000, but I've done it a lot, you know, where I've talked to people whose art I really respect, and I've had a lot of people on the show now. We're on just released episode 14, you know, and we got 4 more in the hopper. So, like, we're doing it, you know, and it's happening. But there's still a little bit of anxiety right before, because I want to get it right. You know, because it does matter to me that I do it right.
You're creating it. Like,
exactly.
It's part of your craft.
Yeah. This is kind of more topical. I saw the post that this is a quote from you, I'm pretty sure. Sitting in a 24-hour laundromat in Jacksonville, Florida, watching humans of every color, nationality, and religion hustling to make Tuesday morning happen. Little kids hustling laundry from the washer to the dryer for tired moms and dads. This is the world moneyed folks don't see or talk about. My heart breaks for so many. This is a welcome shot of humanity. First of all, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's just beautifully written. But can you kind of take us through that moment? Because like that seems like a pretty powerful feeling you just had.
Yeah, I mean, we were at the hotel 2 nights ago, and we had the night off, and so we went to go do laundry, and it was 10 o'clock at night, and it's exactly what I was saying. You know, see these parents with these kids running around, and every kind of human is there, just doing everything that they can do to keep it together and make Tuesday morning happen. To have clean clothes for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, but you don't have washer and dryer at your, you know, it's not down the hallway. Like you have to load everything up, and hopefully you have a vehicle, but some don't. You know, so you're carrying these bags with you, you know, and your children, and you're walking down, Jacksonville, Florida, which is not very walking friendly.
Yeah.
You know, so you're walking down basically a side of a highway with these bags of laundry, and here are these kids up at 10 o'clock at night. You know, they're trying to get the thing. They don't want to be there. They're trying to help mom and dad get this stuff done, and mom and dad surely don't want to be there. I'm sure there's a million different things that they would rather be doing, but there they are, just trying to make a day happen. And that's the thing that people with money, and again, it's part of the poverty in the book. Like, there's so many things that people have never had to think about, so they just don't even know to think about them. And I'm guilty of that. I found things, you know, but I grew up with a washer and dryer in the house. I did.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of people don't. And it's such a small thing to take for granted that people that have always had it don't understand just how much getting clean clothes, the energy that goes into that, you know, when you have that taken away. Like, and people, the bubble of money, the comfort bubble that money creates for people, and they lose sight of others so quickly.
Yeah.
So quickly.
Well, what do you think we do? I've been thinking a lot about this, man, because I think there are lots of things there are tons of things that we can reasonably differ on, you know, in terms of politically and socially. We can have a dialogue. We can either agree or disagree. Maybe you'll sway me if we're having an intelligent dialogue. Maybe I'll sway you. Right. But there are certain things that just, it's a human rights question, you know, or there's got to be a line there. What do we do to communicate to people who seem to be on the other side of that line?
And I'm swallowed by that right now. I have no idea. Like, that used to be, I always thought that was the baseline, which we all started from and then worked off of. Yeah. You know, we could all agree that little kids shouldn't die.
Yeah.
You know, like little kids running around, you know, and that's not the truth anymore. Like, human life has been devalued.
Right.
And that's the point we are in history right now again.
Yeah.
And it's the classic us versus them. Once you start speaking of people as, you know, infesting a country, I mean, that is dangerous language.
Yep.
And
words matter.
Words do matter. And people just blow by these things, and they start, you know, when the president of the United States says something like that, and the people that his followers start using that language about how people are, you know, rapists and murderers are coming up through they take that at value, and they start using that within themselves, and that language spreads, and those become ideas.
Yeah.
And it's poisonous, you know, and here we are, we're devaluing human life. That is the breaking point of a society. We are no longer a functioning society if we have devalued human life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's no longer a functioning society. We are broken as a people if we are devaluing innocent human beings.
Right. Damn. So you don't have an answer for me.
I think it's a Frank Turner thing, but careful of people that have quick answers or simple answers to
that's
complicated problems.
Yeah. He's pretty damn good.
Yeah, he is.
The dialogue. There's a lot of dialogue in the book.
Yeah.
I find dialogue really difficult to write personally. Do you feel the same way, or is that an easier way for you to write?
I think that was an easier way for me to write because I had never done it before, and I got really excited when I found it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because again, when I felt like I was writing really well, the conversations were just happening, you know, and I didn't have to think about how somebody would respond or anything. I just knew how that character would respond because I grew up surrounded by people that spoke like that, you know, like people that worked at convenience stores and got punched in the mouth the night before, and you don't call the cops or anything because there's nothing anybody can do. You just wake up and do it again tomorrow. You know, and it's a funny story at the bar tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Or even once you get off of work. You know, that's how real life happens for the most part. You
Yeah.
know? So yeah, dialogue was really exciting. I think, you know, when it's going well. When it's not going well, then it's torture.
I get in my head about it. When I try to write it, I get in my head about it. I don't know, like the structure of it is tough for me. When I look at it on a page, what it's supposed to look like is tough for me. The way that there are a couple of other choices here that I really like too as I would look at it. But like, I love this book physically feels
good. That was the editor. He chose so textured.
Yeah, I wondered if that was something you had any insight on, because like, and then the type, the actual font is really readable.
That's good. So this is the original pressing. We accidentally did the font too big, and it was like really. So some people have them. There are about 50 or 100 of them out there, but it was too spread out. So this was we brought the font size down, and yeah, I like the way it looks and the way it feels.
That's great. Yeah. I just and that makes such a difference. Like I just want to pick it up, you know, and the more I want to pick it up, the more likely I am.
Yeah. It's it's approachable.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
It's not infinite jest where it's like this.
Right. That's a good point, because there's a lot in here, but it is readable.
Yeah.
It's accessible. So. It's heavy.
Yeah, it is heavy.
It's heavy. But you're right. I don't have to psych myself up for it. Right. I really enjoy picking it up. You know? And I usually read really slowly, but I just picked this up on Saturday. Sunday.
And that's what, it's super approachable. It's not, you know, it's probably not scholarly. It's just a human story.
Yeah.
You know, very human story. And I think that helps with the approachability of it. Is it could be anybody in any town, anywhere.
There are pieces of people that we all know. Yeah. You know, and that's like all great great characters and songs are that way, where you feel like everyone attaches to something. Yeah. You know,
that was a big lesson that I learned of like, I was reading Infinite Jest and watching a lot of David Foster Wallace, you know, have him speaking interviews and stuff. And he was like, I see my kids come in, he was teaching at the time, and like they're trying to impress me, and it makes their work unreadable when you're trying to impress someone. Because I think that was probably my initial the initial draft that I did, was me probably trying to impress myself and others of like, look at me, you know?
Yeah,
and then once I reread that, I was like, oh, well, that's terrible and unreadable, you know? And that's when it helped me fall into the human story of it all, you know? Like, stop trying to write and just say what you're trying to say.
Right.
You know?
That's great.
Yeah, and that's where the groove was for this one.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And was there a spot there where that happened? Or do you remember a moment?
I think it was during when I once it got typed up into the computer and I started rereading it, and I feel like I'm a pretty good, decent editing myself. I have no problem throwing something that I love and care about in the trash can.
Yeah, you said last time we talked, you said you physically took pieces of the book and threw them in the trash can.
Yeah, I have no problem with that, because if I know I can do better, I want to do better. I don't want to let something that I know is not great stick around,
right?
You know? Or at least not great in my eyes.
Sure, and that's really what matters, right? I mean, it's got to be something that you're proud of and that matters to you, because people are going to like it if it's something that you like. Like it's going to come across as the authentic expression that you value so much.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's what I think with the book is so easy. I think it's a super easy read for people that know me and people that have listened to me sing these songs forever, because it's just an extension of that. And it sounds like my voice.
It does.
It does. It's not me trying to be an author or something like that.
Right.
Like, you know, I forget how long the book is, but it's 180 pages of my voice.
Yeah.
Know?
Well, I mean, and that's where the good stuff is, right?
I think that's when I feel I'm at my best.
Right.
Know, when I'm being honest and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, man. I see your listener pin, and you tweeted about them or something, and so I started listening. So thank you for that, because they're great.
They are incredible. Yeah, Dan's one of my favorite writers.
So good.
He's incredible.
What else are you consuming musically right now?
Oh, geez, I knew you were going to ask that, and it's been so much. The newest one that I've been on a kick that's been waking Vanessa and I up at the hotels is Caroline Rose.
Okay.
And there's a song called Money that's just incredible.
Awesome.
And so that's the newest thing that I've found. My friend Aaron Lee Tastian has a new record coming out, and I've only heard the first single, but I'm sure
he's so
everything
good.
he does is incredible. There's a Counterfeit Madison from Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
She is just incredible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know how else to even explain, but
Okay. I'll check her out.
yeah, it's absolutely incredible. So there's just a few things that I feel like are definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. Awesome. What are you reading?
I am reading They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us. And I don't know the author's name right now, but he's
Okay.
from Columbus, Ohio, and it is the most amazing writing I've found since Listener.
Oh, wow.
And shoot, I have the book in my book bag, but I
Okay.
can't think. I feel terrible that I don't know his name right now.
Awesome.
Oh, Hanif, and I don't know. I feel terrible. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Okay.
But
Abdurakib, maybe?
yes,
All
that
right.
seems. But
Well,
so sorry, my friend. If
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
yeah.
Hanif, if you want to come on the show, by the way.
They can't kill us until they kill us. And
all
it's
right.
absolutely incredible.
I'll pick that up after I finish this. Awesome. Tonight you're gonna play a set. What is this? What's the set list gonna look like? What are you thinking?
So probably I've been kicking off with like a few songs off of Norman Rockwell, and then fitting in some new songs that I'm out
Dope.
playing because so just working this new stuff and so new stuff and probably mostly stuff off of Norman Rockwell.
Great. How much new stuff do you have?
Finished and out playing 4.
Okay.
And then in the works, another 5 or so. So
That's great.
yeah. So always trying to bring new stuff. Try not to come through a town and play the same set.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exciting, man. Good. I'm glad. I mean, I want to hear the new Norman Rockwell stuff too. You played it last time you were here, but still, I love it. So I love that record. It was one of my favorite of that year. It's one of my favorites of the last 5 or 6 years too. It's just a great record.
I appreciate that.
And BJ and I were talking about it actually the other day. We're talking about like just how much respect we have for you as a songwriter, and he was his words. He brought it up first, and then we kind of rapped about it for a second. So
that's really cool to hear.
So I'm excited to hear new stuff. Is that all new stuff, all solo stuff, or is there 2 Cow stuff?
I haven't put it in any box yet.
Okay.
It's all
All
still
right.
just coming and just I try to not think about it, just let it come out and
Okay.
see where it goes.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm stoked for the set, man, and thank you so much for sitting down with us
Thank
again.
you so much for having me,
I
man.
really
It's an
appreciate
absolute
it.
pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Cheers, man. That was perfect.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you December boys got it bad. Sons of losers and dreamers can be such a drag. Birthdays and graduations through a telephone. Another son of a rolling stone. Now there's gonna come a time when your little world's coming apart. 'Cause there's a million little girls just dying to break your heart. Jackson, don't worry, you're a good man, son. But damn, you should have seen us back when we were young. The toughest set of kids that the Mohawk had ever seen. Jackson, don't worry, you're a good man, son. See, your daddy and me, we were born to run. Ain't nothing gonna change, but ain't nothing gonna stay the same. Hell right. The questions are many and the answers are few. each and every one coming down on you. In a box, in a closet.
Micah Schnabel, y'all, what an honor to have him on the show for a second time. Micah is such an incredible soul, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk with him and to see him play live. That set he played after we talked was just transcendental. I mean, I know that sounds cliche, but everybody in the room was fired up about it. It was a late set. Everybody was tired. And he had followed a couple of bands, it was like a weird booking where there's like kind of pretty loud bands, and then it's just him with a guitar. And of course, Micah being the professional that he is, and those songs being as incredible as they are, it didn't matter. He didn't need a band behind him to capture our attention on a weeknight, late at night, regardless of how tired we were. Everybody was screaming lyrics back at him, and the energy was incredible. You could tell he was feeling it. You know, you could tell that he was really into the moment. And after the set, I spoke to him about it, and he really was riding quite the high from the crowd and the performance. It was so much fun. If you ever get a chance to see Micah and Vanessa Jean Speckman, they tour together. You can catch them both. Vanessa, who was on episode 17 of the Marinade. Go check them out. I'm so grateful for Micah and for the opportunity to talk with him. I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for your support. On Twitter, we are at Marinade Podcast, and I'm so thankful for the interactions we have there. Marinade_podcast on Instagram. You can see some pictures from the Sing Out Loud festival that I posted recently that I took of Chuck Reagan and Austin Lucas and Sadler Vaden, all three of whom we got a chance to record with. So cool. All three amazing conversations. And so those will be the next 3 episodes of the Marinade with Jason Earle coming out very soon. In fact, as soon as I finish this, I'm going to go to work on the Sadler Vaden episode. What I've been getting down on, y'all, Idris Muhammad. I saw I guess I saw a tweet or something where Hannibal Buress was talking about music that he was into, and the conversation was actually about how he wishes that music reviews would talk a little bit more about the mood that you were in when you were listening to the music, which I think is something that we do pretty well on the Marinade. I typically try to at least discuss kind of like what I'm going through when I'm consuming art, and he was talking about some record that led to him getting into Idris Muhammad. I highly recommend you check out everything by Idris Muhammad. I've been reading The Artist's Way. Hannah Harbour mentioned it on episode 18. Brian Koppelman mentions it a lot on his podcast, and as you know, I'm a huge fan of The Moment with Brian Koppelman. That book is doing wonders for my mental health in general. I mean, creatively, I haven't necessarily seen the benefits of it, but just in terms of a meditative practice of getting up and writing my morning pages and going through some of the processes that she describes in the book, I feel better than I have in a long time. So I recommend it for anybody. It's not necessarily just for someone who considers themselves quote unquote creative. And that's one of the things she says at the outset, is that all of us are creative. And that's definitely the spirit behind the Marinade. That's the reason why we do this show. So that book has been really doing some wonders for me. And I got a couple that are on their way. Sadler and I actually talked about music biographies, and we specifically talked about Bruce Springsteen's biography. So that's coming from the library pretty soon, and I'm stoked to read that and then let y'all know how it is. 3 episodes coming in the can. I can't believe it. Such an incredible year. Thank you all so much. It's all kind of come full circle with this one, and I'm so grateful to Micah. I'm so grateful to all of you for listening. Until next time, cheers, y'all. Hold up, y'all. I hope you don't mind, but pretty amazing moment just happened. I was emailing Micah just to make sure it was cool to use some of his music in the show, and I asked him about some of the new songs, and he actually offered a new tune that you wouldn't hear anywhere else, that he played that night, the night that we got to catch up at that really transcendental, like I said, show, that incredible experience. And so he shared a kitchen table demo, just him and his guitar, a demo that he recorded with me, and agreed to let me use it on the show. So I had everything recorded. It was all done, and I just can't. I can't believe this opportunity. So I've got to throw it in there. It's great. It's typical Micah Schnabel brilliance, and really powerful tune. So thank you so much, Micah. This is unbelievable, and thank you all so much for listening. I'm just gonna let the whole song play. It looks like the working title is 21st Century. Cheers, y'all.
Well, I've been using isolation as a form of medication. I'm starting to worry about the psychological effects. Every morning a new tragedy will on the screen in front of me. I'm growing more and more afraid of what comes next. Culture and violence, dead kids and guilty silence. A Russian elected president, this is an act of non-compliance. I'm looking for guidance everywhere. Let's bow our heads and say a prayer to the Palm and Tarot Card Readers International Alliance. More information in my pocket than any humans in history. I haven't done a great job handling the responsibility. I'm just trying to describe what it's like to be alive during the teenage years of the 21st century. Yeah, I'm just trying to describe what it's like to be alive during the teenage years of the 21st century. Trying to not let the information age get the best of me. When Peyton, she was 17, she was just a little kid. She shaved off all her hair and threw her body off a bridge. Now all those missing persons flyers, they're all fading in the rain on the telephone poles in the back of my brain. And I wish I could have talked to her and tried to explain this world doesn't have to be all heartache and pain. It's the most tender hearts that are made to feel ashamed for not wanting to exist in a world gone insane. Please consider this the space that's traditionally been saved for some grandparents' knowledge passed down along the way. But none of mine lived long enough to ever give me any advice. So insert some folksy wisdom here, and I hope that it applies. I'm just trying to describe what it's like to be alive during teenage years in the 21st century. Yeah, I'm just trying to describe what it's like to be alive during the teenage years of the 21st century. Trying to not let the information age get the best of me. Well, thank you so much for listening. I've had a hard time existing, and it feels good to finally say some of these things out loud. They say that we're divided. I think the truth is we've collided like atoms smashing into the ugliest versions of ourselves. Fear-mongers and racists are all showing their faces, coming out of the dark spaces that they used to hide. Commander and thief, psychotic religious belief. Little kids shouldn't go to school just to die. And I'm just trying to describe what it felt like to be alive during the teenage years of the 21st century. Yeah, I'm just trying to describe what it felt like to be alive during the teenage years of the 21st century. Trying to not let the information age get the best of me.